Our three approaches were slightly different because we were viewing the exhibition from a curatorial standpoint as well as an artistic standpoint. So we kind of had to be on both sides of the bridge, which was a nice way to break it up because it allowed us to obviously continue on the work that we were doing, but also take a greater interest in the work that other people were doing. So for this piece, for this exhibition, I did two pieces. Um, for as long as I can remember, I've always been obsessed with religious imageries, particularly the depiction of Jesus. I don't know why. I've tried to draw it like hundreds of times, and I've never been able to get it right. So I like the way people interpret like the imagery of religion because it's such a strong image, and it's been such a powerful image for the last 2,000 or so years that it's crazy that in modern society we still believe in these stories that we were told, or that have been handed down and handed down. And I love that people will just dictate their whole life to a set of rules that were told to them in a book. And so for me it's always been an odd sort of vibe seeing that. Coming from my family, half of them are religious, half of them are not. So I kind of see both sides of the spectrum. I completely respect people who have faith. I think it's a powerful thing to invest your time in, but I still think it's crazy that people will just live by a set of rules that were handed down by other people that they wrote in a book. So for me, trying to depict this image of Jesus has always been a struggle, a sort of internal struggle, because I do it and then I'm not happy with it, so then I have to start again. So for me, the first piece I did, or the second piece, sorry, was more about hiding the image of Jesus as opposed to sort of seeking it out. So it was more creating a more ambiguous piece, so people were able to draw what they want from it, not necessarily imposing the stark image of it straight away as people walk in, but giving them the ability to find it if they so desire. But yeah, that was an interesting one, and once again I'm not happy with it, but I think that is just part and parcel with creating pieces that you invest a lot of time in. You usually end up not liking them. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm obsessed with it. I just like the imagery. I like how powerful, how one image has transcended over 2,000 years, and you could take it probably anywhere in the world, show someone, and they would be able to tell you who that person is. I don't think there's any other image or artwork that's ever been created that has that power or that provenance that people can just go, yep, that is him, that is him. And I just think it's a really interesting piece to look at because people will just draw from it what they want. The first piece I created was a miniature. It's always been a life goal of mine to create a model village. I don't know where that stems from. It's just one of them things that I've always wanted to do. And for this exhibition, I particularly wanted to do a piece of work that I had no initial background in or had no skill or previous knowledge as to how to do. I wanted to start something completely from scratch and build it from the ground up. I like the idea of creating a small scene and being able to dictate to the last detail where everything goes. I think with painting and sculpture, although it is quite controlled, it is still very loose. You're not able to necessarily dictate to the millimetre where everything is going to go. So for me, it was nice to have that complete control and ownership over a piece that I'd never really had before, because coming from a sculptural background, and sometimes a lot of the pieces you make are sort of hit and miss whether they work or not, because you don't necessarily always have complete control. So having that was a real nice way to work, and I liked the contradictory styles of the sort of anime Japanese culture mixed in with the terrain and the naturalistic side of the scenery. So it was nice to work with the smaller scale and just have complete control over the piece as a whole. Again, it's hard because as soon as you add an image of any sort of religious imagery, you always instinctively are gonna people are gonna take one or two things from it. They're gonna say that it's a religious piece, or people will get offended by it. You always run that risk of upsetting people. But for me, coming from a family that is religious and not religious at the same time, I'm able to just view it from an aesthetical point of view. That for me, the piece is just a powerful image, and I would like to impart my own version of that onto people and try and make a nice piece of art revolving around that. And the same with the second piece, it is more just an aesthetical piece rather than any sort of deep meaning. I like to just create work that I think looks nice. I don't necessarily think all work has to have some hidden meaning. For me, it is just if it looks nice, then I like it.